In the heart of a bustling city, where the noise of ambition and the echo of disappointment intertwine, there was a boxer named Kwang. Once his name was cheered from every corner of the arena, his fists seen as a symbol of indomitable strength. But time, as it does with all things, began to chip away at his reputation. Losses started to pile up. The crowd that once roared his name now whispered doubts behind his back. The media, relentless in their scrutiny, questioned whether he had lost his edge. Critics wondered if he still had the fire, the aggression that once made him unbeatable. Kwang felt the weight of these expectations crushing his spirit. Every morning as he laced up his gloves, the burden of proving himself again pressed heavily on his chest. He trained harder, hit the bag with more fury, but the results did not change. With each defeat, the anger inside him grew. He found himself consumed by frustration, his mind clouded by the desire to silence his doubters. Yet the more he tried to fight with rage, the more he lost himself. One day, after a particularly bitter loss, Kwang wandered the city streets alone. Under the dim glow of streetlights, he stumbled upon a small temple, its gates open, inviting. Drawn by a quiet voice within, he stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and the only sound was the gentle tapping of rain on the tiled roof. An old monk sat in the center of the hall, his eyes closed in deep meditation. Kwang, restless and weary, sat beside him. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, the monk opened his eyes and turned to Kwang. "Why do you fight?" he asked, his voice calm and steady. Kwang hesitated. "To win," he replied. "To prove myself. To silence those who doubt me." The monk smiled gently. When the mind is like a stormy sea, no matter how strong the ship, it cannot reach its destination. But when the waters are calm, the ship sails true. The greatest strength comes not from aggression, but from peace within. The words lingered in Kwang's mind long after he left the temple. That night, for the first time in years, he closed his eyes and allowed himself to be still. He listened to the rhythm of his breath, felt the beating of his heart, and slowly, the storm within began to subside. From that day forward, Kwang's training changed. He rose early and sat in silence, focusing on each inhale and exhale. He learned to let go of anger, to accept failure without letting it define him. He practiced being present, feeling each movement, each punch, not as a weapon of destruction, but as an expression of balance and control. As the day of his final match approached, the pressure mounted. Pundits predicted his defeat. The public expected another loss. But Kwang felt no fear. He stepped into the ring, not to wage war against his opponent, but to master himself. The bell rang. His opponent, fierce and hungry for victory, came at him with all the fury Kwang once knew so well. But Kwang did not respond with anger. He moved with fluid grace, his mind clear, his heart steady. Each blow he dodged, each counter he delivered was guided by focus, not aggression. The crowd watched in awe as Kwang absorbed the chaos of the fight and transformed it into calm precision. His opponent, frustrated by Kwang's composure, grew reckless. In a pivotal moment, Kwang saw an opening, not just in his rival's defense, but in the very nature of conflict itself. He seized the opportunity, not with brute force, but with calculated skill and unwavering calm. When the final bell rang, it was Kwang's hand that was raised in victory. But the triumph was deeper than a medal or a championship belt. He had conquered the true adversary, the turmoil within himself. As he stood in the center of the ring, sweat mingling with tears of relief, Kwang understood the lesson the monk had imparted. Real power is not found in the roar of the crowd or the fear in an opponent's eyes. It is found in the quiet strength that comes from within, in the ability to remain centered even as the world tries to pull you apart. In the days that followed, Kwang became a different kind of champion. He spoke to young athletes about the importance of inner peace, about the strength that comes from knowing and accepting oneself. He taught them that failure is not an enemy to be vanquished, but a teacher to be embraced. He reminded them that the journey to greatness does not begin with the conquest of others, but with the mastery of one's own mind. Those who once doubted him now looked at Kwang with new respect, not because he had returned to winning, but because he had found something more valuable than any trophy, a sense of purpose, a wellspring of resilience, and a peace that no defeat could shake. His story spread beyond the boxing world, inspiring people from all walks of life. Business leaders, artists, students, and parents all found something familiar in Kwang's struggle and triumph. They saw their own battles reflected in his, their own fears, and their own hopes. For in the end, the lesson is universal. We all face moments when the world feels too heavy, when the noise outside threatens to drown out the quiet voice within. We all know the sting of failure, the ache of doubt, the temptation to fight harder, louder, more desperately. But true courage is found in pausing, in listening, in finding calm amid chaos. Kwang's journey reminds us that the greatest victories are not won through aggression or force, but through patience, presence, and inner peace. When we are at peace with ourselves, we become unshakable. Our actions gain clarity, our decisions become wiser, and our strength, both physical and mental, reaches new heights. So as you face your own challenges, remember the story of Kwang, the boxer who found power not in his fists, but in his heart. Let his journey be a reminder that, no matter how turbulent the world becomes, the calm within you can be the most powerful force of all. Embrace it, nurture it, and let it guide you, not just to victory, but to a life of true fulfillment and lasting strength.